Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the McGonagall Boxing Podcast. So just want to touch upon Ugas Spence. I didn't watch it live, I didn't stay up this time, but I did catch it on highlights the following morning. And just having a look back upon it now, a few days later, it surprised me how kind of really one-sided it was for large parts. And what I mean by one-sided was, I'm not saying Ugas was overwhelmed. I'm not saying he was blitzed. I'm not saying it was a George Foreman versus, a Joe Frazier. But I mean, he was competitive and he was landing. And there's enough signs there to tell me Crawford knocked Spence out. I wasn't mesmerised by Spence. Like I was back in 2015. And that's not hating on the guy, but it was an impressive performance. It was a much better Spence than I thought would happen. Although I wasn't a million miles away from saying that Ugas, he did hurt Spence. I thought he would do. He did back Spence up, and not enough though, occasionally. Probably, round 6, obviously, round 8, round 10, there were fits and starts where for about 10, 20 seconds he'd back Spence up and you go on Ugas, go on. But then he kind of held back, almost like he was worried what was coming back at him. But I didn't expect Spence to stay in the pocket as long as he did or fight in the inside. His inside game impressed me. I didn't think Spence, having seen him against Porter where he was roughed up for large parts, and against Garcia where he got buzzed and hit, against a faded Garcia, let's be honest, not a prime Garcia. I thought Ugas will be bigger and stronger. Actually, size to size, Spence looked bigger in the ring. That surprised me. He was the bigger man. So that's one tick, obviously, when he faces Crawford, which hopefully will be sooner rather than later, is the fact that Spence is going to be bigger. He can be probably, I don't know if he's going to be stronger. Everyone talks about how surprised they are with Crawford's strength, but he's going to have a bigger reach, bigger height, and that counts. No question about it. I just think Crawford's more explosive and he's a better all-round fighter and he adapts better. But it did impress me, and one key thing that I did highlight was a tall, gangly, rangy fighter like Ugas, you go to the body. Obviously, the faded Pacquiao, legendary Pacquiao, wasn't going to the body. He was just trying to go head and fight Ugas from distance. But obviously, Spence was smart. What he did is he chopped the tree down, didn't he? He didn't try and go to head as much. When he did target the head, he was vicious, wasn't he? Targeting the eye. A bit like he did with Brook. He's smart, Spence, and, he goes for weak points. He's broke someone's orbital bone. He just goes, picks a point, goes for it, picks a point, goes for it. So calculated when he went to the head, but body as well, mixed that up. Rough and tough fight, roughed Ugas up the time, pushed him back, took away Ugas' long reach, his distance, his timing. He stopped Ugas from dominating, dictating. So all these things were impressive from Spence, and far better than I thought they would be. Again, I probably had Ugas winning 3 rounds, before a stoppage. It was Spence dictating the pace of the fight, the style of the fight, and just better accuracy with his punches. I think he got off more than Ugas. He had better hand speed, which is not too surprising, but I thought Ugas would land more. I mean, he did land on Spence, but not enough. I mean, Spence was landing 3 to every Ugas he's won. Hence what happened, hence Ugas' eye giving way, being marked up. But what also surprised me is smart, intelligent Cuban fighter with a bigger amateur background. Ugas didn't adapt, did he? Didn't make any change, just stood there. And, almost stubborn. No, I'm going to win this fight in the end doing this. And, after 6 or 7 rounds, he should have made adjustments. This is what I'm saying. Crawford won't make that mistake. If Spence tries to rough him up on the inside, rough and tough fight like this one was, he'll just adapt. He'll go, He'll turn southpaw, he'll turn orthodox, whatever's working. He might fight from distance, he might dance around the ring, or, you know, he might start going to the body like Spence went with Ugas. He'll make the changes, a bit like Mayweather did. The great fighters do, they adapt. Ugas didn't adapt, he just carried on fighting a losing fight, and you could see Spence growing confidence. He started quite cagey, got more and more confident, and the confident Spence is a tough fighter to beat, there's no question. But listen, as what showed me is Spence has still an awful lot to offer. He's still elite. I think he's the second best welterweight in the world. Some people after Saturday night are convinced he's going to be too smart, too calculated, too savage, too big for Crawford. I totally disagree. I think Crawford is not an old 34-year-old. He's in his prime. He's on all-time high confidence. He's grown into the welterweight. He's a fully fledged welterweight now. As you saw against Brook, he was bigger than Brook on that night. Who's a big guy himself. It's going to be a great fight. And I can see maybe Spence winning the early rounds, beating Crawford to the punch, but then Crawford making the adaptable changes and getting Spence out there. I've seen enough. I mean, Ugas caught Spence. Yes, I know he can't take his eye off the ball, off the break, thought the referee to stop the fight, but, you know, hey, mistakes are mistakes, and Crawford won't do what Ugas did and sit off Spence, allowing him that 5 seconds to recover. Vital for he'll be right on Spence. It only takes one mistake, as Kell Brook found out against Crawford, and it's night-night. And I think that's going to happen. I think Spence will make a mistake against Crawford, and I think Crawford will punish him big time. I have Crawford winning late stoppage against Spence, but it's not taking anything away from Spence to win. It's very impressive. The referee made the right choice putting Ugas out that fight. He was starting to take a beating in round 10, and I think he possibly could have got stopped on the ropes. Just couldn't see any punches coming, could he? So it was a targeted area which Spence got him with that, you know, the left hook, repeated left hook to Ugas's obviously right eye, his right eye, and he just couldn't defend it, couldn't see it come in from round 7, almost fought blind with one eye. Tremendous heart and bravery from Ugas, and like I say, he caught Spence a few times, you know, with his own hooks and his own body shots, but for every punch he landed, Spence was landing free. So it was quite one-sided towards the end. I think Spence showed me he's got an inside game. He's a rough and tough fighter who's strong. So his inside game is better than I thought it would be. Credit. Tactically did his homework on Ugas, took his distance, took his range away from him and backed him up. And I said that was a big thing though. The one thing I did get right was I said if Spence can back Ugas up, it's going to be a long night for Ugas, and that's exactly what happened. I thought Ugas would be a bit more aggressive, would try and back Spence up and throw a bit more. He didn't. But that's because Spence took his range away and his timing away, and ultimately his confidence towards the end. I don't think that's going to happen against Crawford. I think Crawford always finds a way to dictate, and I think he'll find a way to dictate against Spence, and I think he'll catch Spence. Spence has shown me that he can get caught and hurt his last 2 fights, albeit maybe if it's very sporadically, very short, maybe one round, you know, maybe it's for 30 seconds, but that's all you need against Crawford, and it's night-night. So I'm definitely more convinced than ever Crawford beats Spence, but there's no taking away about it. What Spence has proven, he's still very, very, very live. Very, 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 very good still. Elite, and for me, the second best welterweight in the world. He's a unified champion now. He takes that WBA belt with the IBF and WBC. So he's rightly going to start calling the shots. He's now going to try and call Crawford, I want a 60-40, I want a 65-35 split. I've got more belts. I've just done a good number on pay-per-view. They did 40,000 at the ATT Arena in Texas. So, you know, in Texas where Spence's base, he's got a good following. He's probably got more of a following than Crawford, and he probably better promotion as well, let's be honest, with PBC and Showtime. He's going to say he's a bigger draw, and probably at this point, you know, Crawford will probably have to swallow his pride and take a slightly less cut. I think 60-40 is fair, now that Spencer's got the 3 belts and he's riding high, and I think if Crawford really wants that legacy and a big payday still, and the undisputed title, you have to accept that 60-40, let's get it on. And I think Crawford will stop Spence late to cement himself as the fighter of his decade, of his era in the welterweight division. What a fight's going to be, though. Fantastic. Congratulations, Spence. Impressive win. Ugas, I hope he recovers that eye. I think he needs at least a year out with a broken orbital bone. I'd like to see him, stay. I think he's still got a few years left. I don't think he should retire, but if he does, it's been a fantastic career. But I'd like to see him maybe go down one of the lesser title. So, if obviously the WBA regular title route goes, or just has a nice payday against Mikey Garcia or Danny Garcia before riding off to the sunset. But he needs a long break. Great heart, never gave up, just ultimately outfought, roughed up and outclassed by Spence in the end. All right, guys, I'll catch you soon. Congratulations, Spence.